Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show is brought to you by DKI Canada. Across the street, across the country. She is the pride of Brooklyn, Nova Scotia, looking to toss another world record into her resume, Sarah Mitton. She's also looking for some redemption in Los Angeles. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Coming up! Our guest today hails from Brooklyn, Nova Scotia, Canadian champion in the shot put, the 2018 U Sports Shot Put champion, 2018 U Sports Female Field Athlete of the Year, the 2019 Universiade champion, 2022 Commonwealth Games champion, 2023 Pan Am Games champion, 2023 World Championships silver medalist, 2024 Diamond League champion, and a two-time world indoor champion. Welcome to the program, Sarah Mitton.
Thank you so much. That is quite a rap sheet. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it goes back to my days as a ring announcer. Right? Let's get ready to rumble.
That's good. We need you at the shot put circle.
There you go. Anytime. So tell me, how did you get into the sport of shot put? And was it a common thing growing up in Brooklyn, Nova Scotia?
It wasn't a common thing. We didn't even have a circle in our community. So we threw off of a little cement pad into the grass out back at the elementary and junior high school. And it was just something that I kind of fell into. I played tons of sports growing up: soccer, basketball, volleyball. There was this core group of girls. We just kind of cycled from one sport to the other. And track and field season came about the first year I did track and field. I just running, jumping, hurdles. Didn't really even know that throwing existed. And then by the time the second year came around, I was in grade 8, and a coach had kind of recommended maybe I go over with the boys over on the side there and try to throw this little metal ball. And I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, but it was really neat. And so it just really started from there.
So was that like a 4-pound shot put at that point? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it would have been, I think, about 6 pounds. So nothing
okay.
Too heavy, but when you're in grade 8, like you usually throw about 3 kilograms. And I think I picked it up. I had absolutely no technique. I had no idea what we were doing, and everyone just tried their best. And within a couple of weeks, I ended up going to our first competition.
Right. And when did you realize, this is something I might be pretty good at this?
Well, it was really at that first competition, I'm not sure I realized I was good at it, but there was a coach that spotted me from across the way. She was coaching another rival school at the time. And from our interaction since, she coached me for about 7 years after this interaction. And she says she remembers saying, "Who is that and how can I get her?" And she was the coach at the local track club in a neighboring community called Bridgewater. And she came up to me after the competition and was so excited. And she's such an energetic woman that she really drew me in just with her personality and how she was so excited about me throwing the shot put as something as a club sport. And from then on, I just would travel to Bridgewater and work with her, and still not sure that it was going to be the sport for me, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So moved on from there, and yeah, it's gone all the way to Olympic Games.
Wow. So the you did eventually realize that it was a sport for you. I'm guessing it was probably not too far after that, but you ended up going to the University of Windsor. Why did you end up there? Why not a U.S. scholarship?
Shot put wasn't really something that really showed me the way in elementary school, high school. It was something that I was always good at, but I wasn't throwing any major distance that the U.S. colleges were always looking for. So at the time, I think my best was about 13 meters. I had a few maybe small interactions with some U.S. schools, but I had a connection to an athlete through one of the coaches at the Blue Nose Athletic Clubs who was at the University of Windsor at the time. And she had said that he had this like really great experience. He was being coached under like Dennis Farrell. And they had this like legacy track program. And I knew at the time that I wanted to take shot put to the next level and into university with the hopes of getting some help to pay for school via scholarship. But I don't think I was quite ready for the NCAA program. I came from a really small town. I had only had a little bit of like national experience throwing the shot put. And so I ended up deciding to stay in Canada as opposed to kind of chasing that NCAA route. And I think it ended up being the best thing for me, like on my long-term development.
Yeah, everything kind of worked out for you, didn't it? I mean, it was a different process than a lot of athletes take, but certainly, worked out. I mean, making the move to Windsor, winning the U Sports Championship for the Lancers, and taking top female field honors. What were the key, do you think, to those titles? The keys.
Yeah, the keys for that was just kind of, I think, learning how to train more as a high performance athlete. Like you go from, doing this sport in your time, like after school, you have fun doing it. You're with your friends. And then you kind of get to university, and I'm sure it's different in the NCAA even, but in Canada, it all of a sudden is like, kind of you like get your whole identity wrapped up into it. Like you are a student athlete, like you spend 90% of your day at school, and then whatever's left, you have to give to the track program. And so for me, that was a really neat experience, just being able to like go from training maybe 3 or 4 times a week to training 5 days a week, throwing and lifting every day. And it really just that identity and the upswing that comes with increased training was just like a huge thing for me, being able to have like a coach who was knowledgeable in like different areas of the shot put and take me, I guess, from being a 13-meter thrower to U Sport champion, and being able to just build on my strength levels and build on my technical skills throughout those 4 years.
Right. And clearly you're doing your schoolwork is coming along rather nicely, because you also won the DeMarco Award at Windsor, which is combining athletics and academics, on your way to the Bachelor of Science degree. What are your ultimate academic goals?
It's interesting. That's a great question. When I first went to the University of Windsor, I had these high hopes of, pursuing medical school, and you know how that always works. You find something that you love more within there. And I ended up switching from a biomedical degree with a minor in biochemistry and switched into a biology degree with a thesis. And I worked with a professor there who was doing research in the Canadian Arctic on sharks and Greenland halibut, and kind of layering all of these like data points across the Arctic to develop like sustainable fishing methods. And that really was like at the time, like a huge passion of mine. And I love marine biology and kind of like the natural world. And so it was really a decision where I had to decide, like I had one hand an opportunity to go and try to become an Olympic athlete. And on this hand, I had the ability to, do a master's program with them and go to the Arctic and study fish and help on that project. So unfortunately, they weren't something at the time that paired together, but now it's been many years since I graduated, and I am hoping eventually to get back to something along those lines, but probably not until after LA.
Well, it makes sense for somebody from Nova Scotia to be interested in marine biology. That's sort of it's a natural tie-in for sure. Well, we'll see how that goes down the road. In the meantime, let's talk a little bit more about some big breakthroughs for you. It was your gold medal at the 2019 Universiade in Naples. Is that where you realized that you could really compete with the best on the planet?
Yeah, that was a really neat experience for me. I went in, it was my first year as a full rotational shot put athlete. I had started working with Coach Parkinson the year prior, 2 years prior to this, when I went to my first university ad in Taipei in 2017. And that's kind of when I knew that I was going to, be able to find my footing on the international stage, working with him. And he was such a big influence in that part of my journey. But yeah, this medal was like a really special one. I went in not seeded to win. There was multiple Olympic athletes at the time in the final, people who had much higher personal bests than I did. And I remember coming out that day, we had to compete in the morning and the evening. And that was something that we'd never done before. Usually it's like a qualification the day before and a final the day after. And so I spent the entire second half of the summer training in the morning and training in the evening as like a part of this master plan to be fully prepared. And I remember coming back out in the evening session and just feeling so confident, so prepared, and so much less fatigued than all the other girls looked. And on my first attempt, I think I knew that I was going to take the title. And that medal is probably like one of the most key elements of my career in terms of showing me that obviously preparation is key and how you prepare for an event, but also just, showing you that you don't have to have the best PB or the best mark in a final to take it. It really is about on what happens on the day.
Let's get back to Coach Richard Parkinson. How did you end up being with Rich, and what were the significant changes in your style that he implemented? He helped you implement.
Yeah, Rich and I's story it's pretty interesting. Like, I was working with that coach from back home. Her name was Tammy Gadet. So I would go back in the summers while I was in college and work with her. And she took me to a coaching clinic in New Brunswick one year, which I had no business being at. It was just something that she was going to for her personal development to help my athletic career. But she took me along and Coach Parkinson was presenting. And so right from that moment, she went in to go do her like practical and practical session and her exam. And Richard had an opportunity to stay out in the field and work with me if I wanted to. And so we stayed out there. And the first thing that she said to him was, please don't teach her how to spin, which is another rotation, another technique in the shot put. And of course, the second she left, of course, what did we start doing? As we, do you want to try it? Do you think we could do that? And I remember that day just like laughing because I like obviously thought that was crazy that he would just completely disregard what she said. But he knew from the minute that he met me that like that was probably like my way forward in the women's shot put. And so he just wanted to see, I think he just was like an experiment to see if I had, I think what he calls it, like if you're like rotationally challenged or not. And so he put me through his little test and I passed, but that wasn't where we kind of ended up connecting for the long term. That was 2015. And then I went back to college, spent two more years there. And then in 2017, I actually got identified for a talent identification program through Athletics Canada that kind of linked us together again. And I ended up moving to Toronto for the summer to work with him. So that was our first interaction. And that program is, probably what really allowed me and Richard to work together like full time from such an early start.
So, there's a lot of challenges that an athlete has in order to make it, on the international stage here in Canada. We need a lot of support to compete at a world-class level, and it just doesn't come all that easy. Here in Canada, we have something called Can Fund. Now, a few years ago, you were one of the athletes that were selected for Can Fund, and CTV's Andrea Case and Jane Roos, were on the air when the announcement was made. It was on CTV News, and we actually have that clip.
Oh, no.
Person on the list that's going to be getting funding, Jane.
It is Sarah Mitton from athletics. She is the next Can Fund 150 woman recipient, and we're so glad, so happy to support her and surprise her tonight. Every athlete from Can Fund gets $6,000, and they use it for their journey and to pay for all the things they need to pay for.
It's so great to be supported by so many incredible women that I've seen that are supporting the Can Fund 150 Women's Initiative all over the Instagram. They're just crushing it. So I just hope that I can, do the same out there at the Olympic Games.
Oh my gosh.
So that was a pretty cool moment, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really cool moment. I remember because my teammate and my roommate at the time actually worked for Can Fund as well. So she worked in coordination with all three of them to make that happen. And I just remember thinking, like, we watch the news every once in a while, of course, because Andrea is on there. And I remember thinking, like, she was so adamant that I sit down and watch the news that day. And I was so ready to go for a walk or go do something else. And then just the surprise, like, to be able to have that happened with obviously like Coach Parkinson's wife, like Andrea Case being such a big part of my journey as well. But it was a very full circle moment and just like a really, really awesome surprise and something that, yeah, I've been fortunate to be a CanFM recipient twice. And it's been such a big part of what's allowed me to kind of reach that next level in track and field, especially with here in Canada. That support is so important.
Okay, so here's another full circle interesting moment for you that I can share with you. So there's Andrea and Rich. And so a number of years ago, I'm at an event. I don't know, it might have been the Shaw Festival boxing event or whatever. I was emceeing it, I think. And I ran into Rich and he came up, we had a chat. And he mentioned to me that at one time, I know you work with Andrea, and it's funny because, back in high school, we had a thing going there. And I was one of my greatest regrets is that I didn't really pursue this. And he says, if you don't mind, Joe, could you here's my number. Can you just pass it on to, if she calls, whatever. And anyway, so I went to work that night, the next night, and I passed on the number to Rich's number to Andrea. And she kind of nodded. Oh yeah, that's cool. Anyway, she ended up calling, and here we are a number of years later, and they're married. So I felt like a little bit of a playing Cupid there on.
Wow, that is so cool. I actually didn't know. I've heard a lot of stories about their relationship and how they've met in different aspects of their life, and I did not know that you were a part of that. Yeah. So without you, there would be no me. Well, I think Richard would have been.
You'd still be gliding, and you would have probably given up shot put a few years back and everything else.
100%. It's those little moments that make big differences.
That's pretty funny. Anyway, here we are, right? So 2022 Commonwealth Games, another breakthrough moment for you. Your final throw, you hit a distance of 19.05 meters to grab the gold medal. How did that feel? Because that was a pretty big international moment for you.
It was. That competition, I remember, it was one of the most challenging competitions I've had to date on the international scene. We were just coming off of the 2022 World Indoor Championships in Oregon, where I had a really great performance and I ended up tying for third and finishing fourth. So the best result I'd ever had at an international, major event of like a world caliper. And we were headed to the Commonwealth Games next. So it was just a really busy, packed summer. And I remember coming off the games in Oregon, feeling like a little bit down, like a little bit sick. And I ended up getting COVID in between. So I ended up flying home, feeling pretty under the weather. And then, of course, it was still during that time where we had to take lots of PCR tests to be able to travel. And I took my PCR test and I had come down with COVID. So I was actually worried I wasn't even going to make it to the Commonwealth Games, which would have been like a great disappointment. I missed the 2018 Commonwealth Games by just a small margin. So I had really been looking forward to going to Birmingham for my first games. Anyway, that competition, obviously feeling like coming up on the recovery, I made it. And every throw was just like a fight. And I remember being down there and thinking like, despite all odds, like I still wanted to win that competition. And, multiple conversations with Richard on the sidelines about like what I needed to do, how we had all the tools that we needed to get the job done. But it just seemed like every throw something wasn't clicking. And to be able to go out on my last throw and really put it all together and take the win was just such a cool experience that I'd never had. Like I'd never struggled through a competition and was able to kind of change that right at the end and still be able to pull it together. And so I think that was a huge learning moment, as well as a huge like celebratory moment in my career of like, it's not over until it's over. Right. And it was just a really great way to cap off that Commonwealth Games for me.
Yeah, what a beautiful sporting moment. As sports fans, we all love those. But, you hit your final throw, you got to get it done, and you hit the 19-meter mark. And, it all comes together, just, despite COVID and everything else. And that was awesome, man. That's like a movie right there. So, next you got up the Pan Am Games, another gold medal in 2023. And then the World Athletic Championships in Budapest, Hungary, where you hit 19.9 meters and grabbed the silver medal. What was it like to be on the podium at a World Championship?
Yeah, that feeling is so indescribable. You work so hard for so many years to just qualify for those kind of events. Like, I qualified 2019, 2022, I ended up tying for third and losing on the count back. And so despite being super happy with that performance, like it still wasn't a medal. And you work, another 2 years to get to that, or so I guess 1 year for that one. And to be able to really like go out there and trust yourself and to be able to throw hard on that day. And at Athletics Canada, they call it performance on demand, is when you get to that, major championships. Like, it's so much more about being able to have a personal best, being able to get a medal in those big moments. And that was like really the first time that I felt like I had like stepped up for the team and for myself, and for my coach. And it was just a really incredible experience. It was one of the first times, I think it was the second time they hand you the medal like immediately after. And all of that to say is like, at the end of the day, I also learned that I was the first woman to ever win a medal for Canada in the shot put at a World Athletics Championship. So it's really neat personally. And then I think like as like a history and legacy piece is, really, really neat to see those kind of history books being rewritten.
Yeah, great. That was so great. What a great moment that was. But you were Team Canada's captain, right? So any extra pressure on you at that particular time?
Yeah, it's funny. Being team captain is something that I had not really anticipated that year. And watching I had been on a few teams prior to that where the team captains really had held their own. Like, they were always these athletes who, like I said, they would go out and they would have these really great performances at the World Championship. They are just such great leaders on the team in that way. And I actually didn't compete until the very end of the championships in 2023. So there was a little bit of extra pressure. Like, we had, I think, like one of the highest medal counts we had up to date in recent history for the team. And we had such a strong female and male team on that in Budapest. And so by the time my turn came, I remember thinking like, for myself, for the team, and like, yeah, as a team captain, like I need to go out there and show people like what's to be done. But it was such a good pressure. Like, I remember that one of my favorite moments from that championships is, I think I was in third, maybe fourth at the time. And Marco Arup had just finished running his 800 meter and he was my co-captain. And he was doing his victory lap while I was over there having a conversation with Richard about, what I needed to do on my next throw, just kind of like regrouping. And he ran by and we kind of had like a moment where we embraced, and he just said, okay, like, your turn now. And he had his medal around his neck. So he had done his job as captain. And I remember going over and just like having so much more motivation from that moment. Cause like my co-captain had just done it. Like, it was my turn to hold it down for the team. And yeah, the next couple of throws, like I ended up getting that silver medal. And it was just, yeah, a really cool moment for both of us as captains, but for the whole team in general. We just won so many medals that night. I think Damien and Pierce Lepage also won gold and silver in the decathlon. And so it was just such an exhilarating and like emotional evening for athletics.
Yeah, Canada kicked some ass that night, for sure.
Yeah, it was very cool to be a part of.
Yeah, and being a captain, that's awesome. So, okay, then in 2024, the World Indoor Championships, Glasgow, Scotland, a throw of 20.22 meters. That was a Canadian record. How did it feel now to be named, top athlete on the planet in your discipline?
Yeah, winning your first global title is surreal. Of course, I had hoped for that in Budapest the year before. So there was like a lot of a lot of fire for that indoor season. I remember thinking like coming off of a silver medal, like, of course you're like very happy, but the goal was to win the outdoor championships. And it was just by like a small margin. And so I knew that I had the tools and I knew that I had the potential to be on top and to win a title. And that whole indoor season, we focused primarily on like the World Indoor Championships being our goal for the year. And so every competition kind of like leading into that, we were able to take like a piece of learning from each one and kind of apply it to the next. And I just felt myself getting like stronger mentally, stronger emotionally, and like stronger technically as the season went on. And by the time I got to the World Indoor Championship, like we got down there for competition day and I kind of had this like sense of peace where I opened with a pretty solid throw, nothing like to write home about. But again, like knowing so deep down that I was going to be able, like if I was going to be able to capitalize on that first throw and be able to just like use that as momentum throughout the competition. And yeah, I ended up taking the win and setting a Canadian record, and definitely had a few tears my first time winning my major international event like that. It's really special.
Yeah, I tend to run some clips when Canadians do well internationally. I might just post them on social media. I actually have a clip that I ran of your performance at the World Indoor Championships. Let's have a listen. Gold medal for Canada's Sarah Mitton. The 27-year-old from Brooklyn, Nova Scotia, captured the women's shot put at the World Athletic Indoor Championships in Glasgow, Scotland. Her first throw clinched the gold at 20.20 meters. Her second throw, even better, 20.22 meters, both shattered the Canadian record. She is also reigning outdoor silver medalist and in great shape heading to the Paris Olympics. Oh, there you go.
Oh, amazing. I do remember seeing that clip. It's so cool.
Yeah, and I did one for Ethan too, a little bit later. So now here we go. So world champion. Now later in the year, 20.68 meters. I think is that still your personal best in Pennsylvania?
It is, yes.
It was a big throw. Did you impress yourself with that one?
That throw is such a funny one for me. Richard, we were just having such a good week of training and I had no intentions of competing. My teammate was headed down to Pennsylvania to throw just at this competition that is just shot put there. Anyway, I've had like a previous really great experience at that meet. It's I threw my Canadian under 23 record there, which was a huge performance. I think my PB prior to the meet was 1780, and I think I came home with an 1852 in 2018. And I remember Coach Parkinson asking me if I was throwing the 3 kilogram shot or something because he just couldn't believe it. And so anyway, I was having a really great week of training, and he was like, "Hey, like, I think you have to go to Garage Strength with your training partner and just, go see what happens." And I was like, "No, like, we're just training." Anyway, he's like, "I guarantee if you go down there, you're going to throw a PB." And I was kind of like, I love a good challenge and I love like proving Richard right and or wrong. And so I was like, okay, like bet. And I went down, and of course, like on my first throw, just like, I don't know if it was on my first throw that I did that or not, but it was just like a huge 20-meter performance. And I was just like, I hate it when you're right, but I like throwing far. So it was a really fun meet. And I had like 2 or 3 20-meter performances down there. Just like must have, when something just clicks, and he saw it kind of building, which was really neat. So I was able to go down there and capitalize on that. But just a really fun experience to be able to just go and throw far for like no reason other than the love of the sport.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's nice when Coach Rich is right. Yeah. Okay. So you go from there like that high of personal best and everything else. And then the Paris Olympics come along, you qualified in top spot, but it didn't come together for you. What happened in Paris?
Yeah, I think Paris had its challenges for me. I went into the games in probably like the best shape of my life, the best technical shape of my life, like every practice just kind of going right, like had some really great practice PBs with all different weights of the shot, feeling really strong, hitting lots of personal bests in the gym, coming out the first day, feeling really like determined and really confident to kind of conquer the narrative from Tokyo about, how I've overcome the qualifying rounds, because in shot put, like that really is a difficult thing to do. Like you go from 36 athletes to 12. So that's a really big drop off, right, for the bottom. So if you're not in the top 12, you're only getting 3 throws. So you have 36 girls fighting for 12 spots in that final. And there's no room for error or forgiveness. And in 2021, that's kind of where I faltered. But the difference as well is you only get 3 attempts. So for me, that adds like a layer of pressure, because you have to expect to have one of your best throws of your life in just 3 times. So that consistency is really important. And that's something that I've worked on every day since the 2021 Olympics. So being able to go out into the qualifying rounds, I've obviously had world championship experience since then, where the qualifying rounds we've practiced and used that as like a learning and how to do, and like they've gone well. And so coming out in the qualifying rounds and being able to just qualify on my first attempt, obviously a very exciting experience. Leaving that feeling like very confident, of course, and how your preparation went exactly as you had hoped. However, coming into the final the next day, looking at the radar, looking at a few things, and, it wasn't supposed to rain and it ended up raining, which is okay. Like as an athlete, we're supposed to be able to compete in all conditions. However, we had previously watched the men's competition go, and 4 or 5 guys had slipped and fallen, and the circle, like the information transfer was that the circle was very slippery and very fast. And a lot of the guys had faltered because of the rainy conditions as well. And so that being in mind, when it started to rain, you're trying to come up with like the best way forward. And for me, unfortunately, like, I'm only 5'6". I'm one of the smaller shot putters. I'm only 5'6". My throw is very ballistic. Changing my technique a little in the moment, we tried to focus on, not falling, of course, and being able to, one of these 3 throws being the one, of course, for the final to make that top 8 mark. And the way that, I don't know if I clearly slowed it down too much and got too far away from like all of the things that make me a good shot putter. And that's like the speed and the power. But yeah, there's just a lot going on there in terms of the decisions, I guess, that were made in the moment, and confidence in a slippery ring. And I ended up not obviously getting the throw that I wanted in that final, and coming out with I think a mark just in the 17 meters and a foul that probably would have won the Olympics if I could have held it. So like I said, there's just no room for error. And sometimes like you have to make decisions in the moment. And, I'll carry that with me for the next 4 years of, learning different techniques and how to train and throw more effectively in different rings.
And there are different circumstances. It almost seems like it was the perfect storm, for unfortunately, for the perfect storm for failure for you at that particular time. I mean, even though the foul was still long enough to win it, and it just didn't come together. Your Canadian teammate Ethan Katzberg, we had him on the show, and of course he won the gold medal previously in the hammer throw. He told us he could feel your pain, and he could also relate. Let's listen to that.
She definitely, you could see that she had some really good shape coming into Paris. And I mean, she threw amazing in the last Diamond League of the year, winning that by major distance. So she was in really good shape. So, unfortunately, in the highest level competition, these things still happen. And, it was, it happened to me in Kenya, and, it's not, we're not immune to it at the highest level. So it's really unfortunate. But I think, she'll be back, and she's in some great shape now. You saw in the indoor meet there, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Carl Schur. Carl, I don't know. It's a German
Right.
competition, I think.
Yeah.
But she, yeah, tied her national record there. So she's doing amazing, which is really good to see.
Yeah. There seems to be like a real good camaraderie amongst you guys, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say, what a good teammate. I think like an awesome perspective from someone who has had ups and downs through his careers, but as a young athlete, like Ethan has just like come out onto the scene and really upset the throws community by being one of the youngest male hammer throwers to ever win a world title. He came out and like defended that at the Olympic Games. Like he is somebody who is just such a fierce competitor, but you don't develop that without having your own set of failures. And I think that that's exactly how Ethan can relate, is he's had his own ups and downs through his career. And yeah, I love that he sees that I have that same, I guess, resilience and fire coming through, but I think I'll also be better off for it. And I've seen from 2021 to 2024, the growth that I had from that learning experience of, going to an Olympic Games and not achieving what you wanted to on the biggest stage of your life. And then, 2024, fully different experience, fully different expectations and pressures, and being able to have that glimmer of success at the Olympics that first day and knowing what that felt like. I think carrying that into LA will just only make me stronger.
Yeah, just 4 years away. Well, 3 years away, and you're almost there, right? And I'm sure that that does it add extra motivation for you?
It does. It's interesting. We've gone through a couple key moments in my career, and the only 2 gold medals that I'm missing are the Olympic game gold medal and the World Championship gold medal. So I am hoping that I was expecting obviously to have completed one of those last year. And I think now that motivation will be even greater leading into LA, and I'll do anything that I have to get there.
Your 2 world championship indoor gold medals and your outdoor silver medals and the outdoor silver medal. And then of course, Ethan and Camryn Rogers both winning gold in the, in the hammer throw. This is such an incredible time for Canadian throwers. I mean, do you feel it? Do you sense it? Do you hear about it?
Definitely all of the above. I mean, I feel it because it's been really special to be a part of. My first experiences on Team Canada were like kind of in the sprinting era where we still have that, but we weren't winning medals in throws. We had people making maybe a final here or there. And over the last few years, like we've seen not only like more athletes making the final at these major championships, we've seen, like you said, we've seen medals, we've seen gold medals, we've seen multiple at one championship. And what's really cool is we can also see like the talent pool coming up as well. Like we have another group of young athletes who are, I guess coming up and ready to fill some of those bottom footsteps as we, move through our careers, and then they'll be able to take over the reins. So it's been really neat to see that growth period. Of course, like when you start to win medals, like it brings attention to the sport, and it shows other athletes that they have, if they're in the same circumstances, coming from, a Canadian town, coming from Toronto, coming from BC, staying in Canada for university versus going to the States, like you can put yourself in those shoes a little bit easier and actually see yourself winning these medals, and you see people who have been on the same journey. And it's just really been a fun moment is to see the throws getting the attention they deserve. Like Ethan and Camryn, myself, Rowan and Adam Keenan, Jillian Weir, like we've had so many athletes over the last, few years even who have just like really stepped up. And yeah, I just see that it's really nice for these athletes and myself to show Canada and to be able to get that recognition for all the hard work that we've put in.
Is there like a peak age for a thrower? Because you look at Ethan, he's 23. I mean, who does that? Like he's one of the youngest in the world to compete. But and some of the guys he's competing against are well into the 30s. I mean, in the women's throwing events, it's the same kind of thing. There's quite a spread there. Is there a peak age, or do you think there's a peak age for you?
I definitely think there's everyone's peak age might be slightly different. It really depends on like your training age, your training volume, and how well you are able to like recover and how well you take care of yourself. But, I'm turning 29 in about a month, and I feel like I'm still kind of coming into my peak. I've had lots of great success, but I think my ceiling is so much higher than I've been able to capitalize on. And with the throwing events, it's a strength-based sport and a technical sport, and those things take such time to develop. And so I think if you can stay healthy and you can stay fit, like the time and the technical reps that you can put in will only make you better. And so I'm really looking forward to continuing my career like into my 30s. And I think Ethan has a very long career ahead of him, like being 23. And I can't wait to see what he throws in 10 years. Like, it's going to be a phenomenal thing to watch. And I think everyone should keep an eye on him, because that's a long career. But if you're already throwing so far, I really think the only way to go is up, because he just has that many more years to put the work in.
Yeah, what comes to mind for me is there is a Cuban boxer named Teofilo Stevenson, who was a heavyweight, and he won Olympic gold for 4 straight Olympic Games, and I think Ethan could kind of challenge that record. I think it was 4, maybe 3, but it was for sure at least 3. So, what's next on the competitive schedule for you? I've seen some of your training ahead recently.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's my other passion. Oh my goodness. So that was actually like immediately following my season. And that was called the Scuba Olympics. So I went from the Olympics to the Scuba Olympics.
I was wondering where that came from.
Up next for me, I'll have a few meets kind of locally on this side of the world. So I'll do the Guelph Inferno and the New York Grand Prix, just as kind of some get back into competition mindset meets. And then I'm off to Eugene for the pre-classic, and then Monaco for the 4th Diamond League of the year. So lots to come. And then at the end of the season, of course, we have a busy year. We have like the NACAC championships again I think they're in the Bahamas this year at the end of August, the Diamond League final, and then the World Championships at the end of September. So lots in between all of that, but those are kind of the main marks. But the goal is 100% set on the Outdoor World Championships this year. Yeah,
because you have to get the gold. It's one of the missing medals. We talked about your training methods. We saw those unusual training methods, which was the Scuba Olympics there. But and also of course there's the East Coast cuisine. Is that being helpful in your in your career, your journey?
Yeah, there's lots of protein in one of those. A couple of those, and I'll be throwing 21, 22 meters. Yeah.
Is that a friend of yours? A boyfriend of yours? Or?
That's my boyfriend. It was his first time having a raw scallop. So it's something that I've been doing for many years is scuba diving, and our family tradition is we go scallop diving off of the coast of Nova Scotia, and we collect them and have a license for recreational use. But the initiation method is you have to eat a raw scallop to participate in the day. And I don't think he liked his very much, but he did it, and so now he's officially a part of the group.
Yeah, So it's like kissing the cod in Newfoundland, right? It's part of the deal.
It is, yeah. It's a little bit salty, but.
So, sir, what would you have in terms of advice for somebody who's a young thrower like yourself, or another athlete in general, coming up and getting your life together in this particular world we live in?
Yeah, I guess my advice would be is to find a coach and a training group that you really enjoy and have fun in. I think a lot of the time the focus is on finding like the best of the best right off the bat. But I think like the progress-based steps to track and field are so important. So like for me, if I was talking to someone who was in junior high school, I would encourage you to keep playing other sports. I think that the best thing about track and field and athletics in general is that the better athlete you are, the more success you're going to have. And I find for myself and other people that I've spoken with who are at the same level is we've all played lots of sports growing up, which have contributed to just general athleticism. And then especially like in the throws, you can learn how to throw pretty late in your life. Like for myself, I threw when I was in grade 8, but had I not, like you still could pick it up and learn how to be a thrower later if you're athletic. So I think just continue to be an athlete and explore kind of like other sports, but always just come back to if you really want to be like a high jumper, if you really want to be a thrower, if you really want to be a sprinter, like also have that sport on the go, but be open to not selecting that as your sole focus until maybe college.
Right. And I think I've still got a chance with the Scuba Olympics. I think I want to try that. I think I still got time. The last question I want to ask you is we're partnered with a group called Believe, Become, Be You, and we saw the graphic there momentarily. It's a mentorship program for kids 10 to 17, inspired by the late Sean Gindy, led by Papa Jack. And what's the message that you have for any kids who may be struggling to find their way? I'm just not talking about generally necessarily athletes, but anybody who's just out there struggling right now.
Yeah, I think if you're struggling to find your way, I mean, for myself, sports was kind of that guiding light for me growing up. I didn't have a lot of confidence growing up. And so I think sports is what really gave me that confidence just in general to be myself. And so I think my biggest piece of advice would be find your thing. It doesn't have to be sports. It doesn't have to be music. It just find something that you're passionate about, find something that you can get involved with other people. And I think that helps create a community for yourself and kind of allows you to be your most true, authentic self in a setting where you feel comfortable. And then you'll start to gain confidence and be able to, hopefully find your way through some of like the more difficult times, doing some stuff that you enjoy with like-minded people.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, I got a son who's a great artist. I got a daughter who's a comic, and it's like they just follow their pursuits and they just do their thing, and it works out amazingly well. And if you want to follow Sarah on Instagram, it's @Mitt_Sarah. And it's been great having you on, Sarah. I appreciate that. Any other place that we'd be looking for you on social?
That would be that's like the best one. I am also on TikTok. Beware, it's not as good. The youth are on TikTok, and I'm not sure I completely fit in there in that world yet. But yeah, definitely follow me on Instagram. We have a lot of fun over there. And thank you so much for having me on the show. This has been such a fun walk down memory lane and some of those moments that I haven't thought about in a few months and years, and just like really, really special to relive them with you.
Well, make sure you say hi to Andrea and Coach Rich for us, and from me and producer Vic, who knows them as well. So, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, when we come back, Donovan Bailey takes us through his gold medal win in the 100 meters at the 1996 Olympic Games. We'll be back after this. In 1992, the best locally owned restoration companies came together with one goal: to make disaster recovery better for Canadians. And to this day, DKI remains one of the only 100% Canadian-owned disaster restoration groups in the market. Fire, flood, or storm damage. When things go wrong, the right help makes all the difference. With the right tools and local expertise, we handle everything from emergency response to full-scale restoration, getting homes and businesses back on track the right way. Because a home is more than four walls, a business is more than a building, and recovery is about more than repairs. When you choose DKI, you're choosing a company that's put Canada first since 1992. Locally owned, nationally backed, Canadian through and through. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca.
First of all, I can say that I probably got more relaxed as the false starts happened. But yes, I was very upset, very, very upset because I had two very good starts. And Dan thought that if I had a proper start, then my time should be high 9.6, low 9.7. I think he said something like he thought that I was able to run 9.71. So I didn't know the time. That's just what he said. And that would have been a beautiful time to run. But yeah, it was absolutely horrible. But I realized, again, the things that Dan and I talk about in practice. Donovan, if you have a false start, go back in, reset. So it's almost like loading a spring. So I knew that every time there's a false start, go back in, just take some deep breaths, stretch, shake it off. And get back in and getting ready for war. And that's yes, I was very upset about the starts, but then I realized my top speed was higher than anybody else in that field. So all I needed to do, although I had a horrible start in the finals, I was the sixth man out of the blocks. I knew that again, I had to be conscious, I had to relax, I had to be patient, and you saw the result.
Right, and after that third false start, and Christie's DQ'd, then the real race, and it's your worst start of the four of them, but you were able to make that up. Now, were you a little bit concerned after that start? I mean, did you think to yourself, oh no? Did you think at any point did you think I've blown it? I'm not going to be able to catch these guys, or did you know?
No, I knew because races because it been happening on the professional circuit the entire year. I mean, there were times that Frankie had gotten out on me, and I would just catch him, and sometimes I would let him win. Linford was the same way. I mean, and also all the athletes that were in the race were all professional athletes. So I saw them. On the professional circuit. So I had seen Otto, I'd seen Frankie, I'd seen Davidson, I'd seen, Michael Green, I'd seen all of the guys. So I knew that if I just stayed patient and I stayed relaxed and that I would get momentum and that when I hit top speed, I'd pass the entire field. So yes, I mean, I really wasn't worried about that. And I was quite confident I was going to win.
I love that iconic photo of you after you crossed the finish line. It was unbelievable. I don't know. It's kind of one of my favorite, maybe the greatest sports photo in Canadian history, right up there for sure. Of that you looked over, you saw you'd won. Race face, we call baby. It race That's the best race face ever.
Absolutely.
I mean, just awesome, eh? I mean, I can never get tired of looking at that.
Discover the secret to timeless vitality at Renew Medical Center in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Our specialists unravel the science of aging, tailoring plans to defy its effects. Experience cutting-edge regenerative therapies such as stem cells and exosomes, addressing aging at its core.
It's a wonderful spot, and I highly recommend it for whatever you may need, whether you just want to feel better, you want to look better, have basically a quality of life, just to ramp it up a little bit as we age.
Liberate yourself from aging-related concerns, where accountability, technology, and passion for regenerative medicine converge. Begin your path to peak health and wellness with us. Schedule your appointment today at renewpv.com and elevate your quality of life.
Parents, what's the biggest fear for kids 10 to 14? A future they think they can't handle. At Believe, Become, Be You, we know confidence in the future is a habit we can build. Our course doesn't just prepare kids for the future, it seeds them with skills they will use now. For a limited time, the I Believe in Me Foundation is offering the first 1,000 kids and their parents 1 year free access. This priceless opportunity will save you over $2,000. This isn't just a course. It's a journey in developing life-enhancing skills that will grow with your child, fostering gritty minds, creative futures, and better bonds. Get signed up now at BelieveBecomeBeYou.com. That's BelieveBecomeBeYou.com.
And we want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great people. We highly recommend them all. Thank you for your support of Canadian sports. A reminder that the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, wherever you get your podcast from. Also, check out the show on YouTube. All of our past great shows are on there. Clips, shorts. Like and subscribe. It's absolutely free. Our socials are at Joe Tilley on Instagram and Threads. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show on Facebook. Thanks once again to Sarah Mitton for being on the program. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more. Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in their early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. Joe Tilley here. My wife Penny Claire and I recently took an amazing trip to Egypt and Jordan with Trip Oppo. And here are our top 10 must-dos. Another must-do experience is a luxurious cruise down the Nile River. The ship was elegantly furnished with premium facilities, including a spacious lounge and a swimming pool. The cabins were comfortable, well-appointed, offering panoramic views of the Nile River and the surrounding landscape. I would highly recommend that you book your next trip through Trip Oppo. Call them today. Rooted in 60 years of tradition, Sleepy Hollow is a private golf club with a friendly community of members just minutes from Toronto. With mature trees and rolling fairways, Sleepy Hollow provides a challenging and enjoyable experience for passionate golfers. Enjoy great golf, amazing dining, and a picturesque patio second to none. Visit sleepyhollowcountryclub.com.